Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into God's Word together. If you find this helpful, please subscribe and like, it really encourages us. This channel is dedicated to reading through the entire Bible, in audio and video format. Today, we begin with the very first book of the Bible, Genesis. The name itself means beginning, and that's exactly what this book is about, the beginning of everything. Genesis answers the most fundamental questions: who is God? Who are we? Where did we come from, and where are we going? The first section, chapters 1 through 11, covers the origin of the world and humanity's story. God creates the heavens, the earth, and all living things, and makes humanity in His own image. Adam and Eve enjoyed fellowship with God in the Garden of Eden. But through human disobedience, sin entered the world. What follows is the flood judgment, a fresh start through Noah, and the Tower of Babel, stories that reveal both human pride and God's sovereignty. The second section, chapters 12 through 50, focuses on the patriarchs. God chose for His purposes. The promise begins with Abraham, continues through Isaac and Jacob, and unfolds powerfully through Joseph's life. Joseph's declaration captures it perfectly: "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good," showing us that even our darkest moments are held within God's greater plan. Genesis asks us this question: how are you living within God's word and promises? From the very beginning of time, God has been present with humanity, faithfully working out His plan. As we read Genesis today, we're learning how to navigate our own lives and building a foundation of faith rooted in God's faithfulness. Now, let's begin reading from Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty. Darkness was on the surface of the deep, and God's Spirit was hovering over the surface of the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light, and saw that it was good. God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. There was evening and there was morning, the first day. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the middle of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." God made the expanse and divided the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse sky. There was evening and there was morning, a second day. God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together to one place, and let the dry land appear," and it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters He called seas. God saw that it was good. God said, "Let the earth yield grass, herbs yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, with its seed in it, on the earth," and it was so. The earth yielded grass, herbs yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit, whose seed was in it, after their kind, and God saw that it was good. There was evening and there was morning, a third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth," and it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light to the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good. There was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. God said, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the sky." God created the large sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed, after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful, and multiply. And fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth. There was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. God said, Let the earth produce living creatures after their kind, livestock, creeping things, and animals of the earth after their kind, and it was so. God made the animals of the earth after their kind, and the livestock after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. God saw that it was good. God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them. God said to them, Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. God said, Behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which bears fruit yielding seed. It will be your food. To every animal of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their vast array. On the seventh day God finished his work, which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because he rested from all his work of creation which he had done. This is the story of the heavens and of the earth when they were created. In the day that Yahweh God made the earth and the heavens, no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahweh God had not caused it to rain on the earth. There was no man to till the ground, but a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Yahweh God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Yahweh God planted a garden eastward, in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Out of the ground Yahweh God made every tree to grow, that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it was parted and became 4 heads. The name of the first is Pishon. It flows through the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and onyx stone are there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It is the same river that flows through the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hiddekel. This is the one which flows in front of Assyria. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Yahweh God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden, to cultivate and keep it. Yahweh God commanded the man, saying, You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but you shall not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. Yahweh God said, It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. Out of the ground Yahweh God formed every animal of the field, and every bird of the sky, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all livestock, to the birds of the sky, and to every animal of the field. But for man there was not found a helper suitable for him. Yahweh God caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. He took one of his ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Yahweh God made a woman from the rib, which he had taken from the man, and brought her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man will leave his father and his mother, and will join with his wife, and they will become one flesh." They were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Now the serpent was more subtle than any animal of the field, which Yahweh God had made. He said to the woman, "Has God really said, 'You shall not eat of any tree of the garden'?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees of the garden, but not the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden. God has said, 'You shall not eat of it. You shall not touch it, lest you die.'" The serpent said to the woman, "You won't really die, for God knows that in the day you eat it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She gave some to her husband with her, and he ate. The eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. They heard Yahweh God's voice walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh God among the trees of the garden. Yahweh God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" The man said, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself." God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate." Yahweh God said to the woman, "What have you done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." Yahweh God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed above all livestock and every animal of the field. On your belly you shall go, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life. I will put hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you will bring forth children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you have listened to your wife's voice, and have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying, 'You shall not eat of it,' cursed is the ground for your sake. You will eat from it with much labor all the days of your life. It will yield thorns and thistles to you, and you will eat the herb of the field. By the sweat of your face you will eat bread, until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return." The man called his wife Eve because she would be the mother of all the living. Yahweh God made garments of animal skins for Adam, and for his wife, and clothed them. Yahweh God said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now, lest he reach out his hand, take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever." Therefore Yahweh God sent him out from the Garden of Eden to till the ground, from which he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword, which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. Adam had sexual relations with Eve his wife, She conceived and gave birth to Cain. And said, I have gotten a man with Yahweh's help. Again she gave birth to Cain's brother Abel. Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. As time passed, Cain brought an offering to Yahweh from the fruit of the ground. Abel also brought some of the firstborn of his flock and of its fat. Yahweh respected Abel and his offering. But he did not respect Cain and his offering. Cain was very angry, and his face fell. Yahweh said to Cain, Why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? If you do well, will it not be lifted up? If you don't do well, sin crouches at the door. Its desire is for you, but you are to rule over it. Cain said to Abel, his brother, Let's go into the field. While they were in the field, Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Yahweh said to Cain, Where is Abel, your brother? He said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Yahweh said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. From now on, when you till the ground, it won't yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. Cain said to Yahweh, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out today from the surface of the ground. I will be hidden from your face, and I will be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. And whoever finds me will kill me. Yahweh said to him, Therefore, whoever slays Cain, vengeance will be taken on him sevenfold. Yahweh appointed a sign for Cain, lest any finding him should strike him. Cain left Yahweh's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to Enoch. He built a city and named the city after his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Erid. Erid became the father of Mehujael. Mehujael became the father of Methushael. Methushael became the father of Lamech. Lamech took 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal, who was the father of those who dwell in tents, and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal, who was the father of all who handle the harp and pipe. Zillah also bore Tuvalcain, the forger of every cutting instrument of bronze and iron. Tuvalcain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. You wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have slain a man for wounding me, a young man for bruising me. If Cain will be avenged 7 times, truly Lamech 77 times. Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth, saying, For God has appointed me another child instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. A son was also born to Seth, and he named him Enosh. Then men began to call on Yahweh's name. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, he made him in God's likeness. He created them male and female, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. Adam lived 130 years and became the father of a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. The days of Adam after he became the father of Seth were 800 years. And he became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days that Adam lived were 930 years, then he died. Seth lived 105 years, and became the father of Enosh. Seth lived after he became the father of Enosh 807 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Seth were 912 years, then he died. Enosh lived 90 years and became the father of Kenan. Enosh lived after he became the father of Kenan 815 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Enosh were 905 years, then he died. Kenan lived 70 years, and became the father of Mahalalel. Kenan lived after he became the father of Mahalalel 840 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Kenan were 910 years, then he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and became the father of Jared. Mahalalel lived after he became the father of Jared 830 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, then he died. Jared lived 162 years, and became the father of Enoch. Jared lived after he became the father of Enoch 800 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Jared were 962 years, then he died. Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after he became the father of Methuselah 300 years and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not found, for God took him. Methuselah lived 187 years, and became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived after he became the father of Lamech 782 years and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Methuselah were 969 years, then he died. Lamech lived 182 years and became the father of a son. And he named him Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us in our work, and in the toil of our hands, caused by the ground which Yahweh has cursed." Lamech lived after he became the father of Noah 595 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Lamech were 777 years, then he died. Noah was 500 years old. And Noah became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. When men began to multiply on the surface of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took any that they chose. Yahweh said, "My spirit will not strive with man forever, because he also is flesh. Yet his days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men and had children by them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. Yahweh said, I will destroy man, whom I have created from the surface of the ground, man, along with animals, creeping things, and birds of the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in Yahweh's eyes. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. Noah walked with God. Noah became the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. God saw the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. God said to Noah, The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them and the earth. Make a ship of gopher wood. You shall make rooms in the ship, and shall seal it inside and outside with pitch. This is how you shall make it. The length of the ship shall be 300 cubits. its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a roof in the ship, and shall finish it to a cubit upward. You shall set the door of the ship in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third levels. I, even I, will bring the flood of waters on this earth, to destroy all flesh, having the breath of life from under the sky. Everything that is in the earth will die. But I will establish my covenant with you. You shall come into the ship, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Of every living thing of all flesh. You shall bring 2 of every sort into the ship, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, of the livestock after their kind, of every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, 2 of every sort will come to you, to keep them alive. Take with you some of all food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself. And it will be for food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Yahweh said to Noah, "Come with all of your household into the ship. For I have seen your righteousness before me in this generation. You shall take 7 pairs of every clean animal, the male and his female, and 2 of the animals that are not clean, the male and his female, also 7 pairs of the birds of the sky, male and female, to keep seed alive on the surface of all the earth. In 7 days, I will cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days, and 40 nights, and I will destroy every living thing that I have made from the surface of the ground." Noah did everything that Yahweh commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came on the earth. Noah went into the ship with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, because of the waters of the flood. The clean animals, the animals that are not clean, the birds, and everything that creeps on the ground went by pairs to Noah into the ship, male and female, as God commanded Noah. After the 7 days, the flood waters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the windows of the sky were opened. It rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered into the ship. They, and every animal after its kind, all the livestock after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort, went to Noah into the ship. 2 by 2 of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. Those who went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him. Then Yahweh shut him in. The flood was 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and lifted up the ship, and it was lifted up above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ship floated on the surface of the waters. The waters rose very high on the earth. All the high mountains that were under the whole sky were covered. The waters rose 15 cubits higher, and the mountains were covered. All flesh died that moved on the earth, including birds, livestock, animals, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all on the dry land, in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, died. Every living thing was destroyed that was on the surface of the ground, including man, livestock, creeping things, and birds of the sky. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ship. The waters flooded the earth 150 days. God remembered Noah, all the animals, and all the livestock that were with him in the ship. God made a wind to pass over the earth. The waters subsided. The deep's fountains and the sky's windows were also stopped. And the rain from the sky was restrained. The waters continually receded from the earth. After the end of 150 days the waters decreased. The ship rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month. On the mountains of Ararat. The waters receded continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ship, which he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the waters were dried up from the earth. He sent out a dove to see if the waters were abated from the surface of the ground. But the dove found no place to rest her foot. And she returned to him into the ship, for the waters were still on the surface of the whole earth. He put out his hand, took her, and brought her into the ship to himself. He waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out of the ship. The dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from the earth. He waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove. And she didn't return to him any more. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from the earth. Noah removed the covering of the ship and looked. He saw that the surface of the ground was dry. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. God spoke to Noah, saying, "Go out of the ship, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, including birds, livestock, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply on the earth." Noah went out, with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, whatever moves on the earth, after their families, went out of the ship. Noah built an altar to Yahweh and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Yahweh smelled the pleasant aroma. Yahweh said in his heart, "I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, because the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. I will never again destroy every living thing, as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you will be on every animal of the earth, on every bird of the sky, on everything that moves on the ground, and on all the fish of the sea. They are delivered into your hand. Every moving thing that lives will be food for you. As I gave you the green herb, I have given everything to you. But flesh with its life, that is, its blood, you shall not eat. I will surely require accounting for your lifeblood. From every animal I will require it. From every man I will require it from his brother's hand. Whoever sheds man's blood, his blood will be shed by man, for God made man in his own image. Be fruitful and multiply. Increase abundantly in the earth, and multiply in it." God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, "As for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every animal of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ship, even every animal of the earth. I establish my covenant with you. All flesh will not be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, neither will there ever again be a flood to destroy the earth." God said, "This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you. and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations I set my rainbow in the cloud. And it will be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. When I bring a cloud over the earth, the rainbow will be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters will no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow will be in the cloud. And I will look at it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant, which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth." The sons of Noah who went out from the ship were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from them the whole earth was populated. Noah began to be a farmer and planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk. He was uncovered within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward, covering the nakedness of their father. Their faces were backward, and they didn't see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine, he knew what his youngest son had done to him. He said, "Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants will he be to his brothers." He said, "Blessed be Yahweh, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant." Noah lived 350 years after the flood. All the days of Noah were 950 years, then he died. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah: Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these the coastland peoples spread into their lands, every one according to his language, after their families, in their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Raamah, and Sabteka. The sons of Raamah were Sheba and Dedan. Cush became the father of Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh, therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, and Resen between Nineveh and Calah, the great city. Mizraim became the father of Ludum, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, from whom came the Philistines, and Caphtorim. Canaan became the father of Sidon. His firstborn, Heth, and the Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zmarites, and Hamathites. Afterward the families of the Canaanites were spread abroad. The border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as you go toward Gerar to Gaza, as you go toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Odmah, and Zeboim, to Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their languages, in their lands, in their nations. Children were born also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth. The sons of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad became the father of Shelah, and Shelah became the father of Eber. To Eber were born 2 sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of Almodad, Shelef, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Obimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobob. All these were the sons of Joktan. Their dwelling was from Mesha as you go toward Sephar, the mountain of the east. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their languages, in their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations, and from these the nations were divided on the earth after the flood. The whole earth was of one language and of one speech. As they traveled east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they lived there. They said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks, and burn them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. They said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower, whose top reaches to the sky. And let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people. And they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing will be withheld from them which they intend to do. Come, let's go down, and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So Yahweh scattered them abroad from there on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth. From there Yahweh scattered them abroad on the surface of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and became the father of Arphaxad. 2 years after the flood, Shem lived after he became the father of Arphaxad. 500 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Arphaxad lived 35 years, and became the father of Shelah. Arphaxad lived after he became the father of Shelah 403 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. Shelah lived after he became the father of Eber 403 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. Eber lived after he became the father of Peleg 430 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Ru. Peleg lived after he became the father of Ru 209 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Ru lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. Ru lived after he became the father of Serug 207 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nahor. Serug lived after he became the father of Nahor 200 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years, and became the father of Terah. Nahor lived after he became the father of Terah 119 years and became the father of sons and daughters. Terah lived 70 years, and became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot. Haran died before his father Terah in Ur of the Chaldees, the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and Iscah. Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took Abram his son, Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. The days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. Yahweh said to Abram, "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. You will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went, as Yahweh had told him. Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abram took Sarai his wife, Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran. And they went out to go into the land of Canaan. They came into the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. The Canaanite was then in the land. Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your offspring." He built an altar there to Yahweh, who had appeared to him. He left from there to the mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to Yahweh and called on Yahweh's name. Abram traveled, going on still toward the south. There was a famine in the land. Abram went down into Egypt to live as a foreigner there, for the famine was severe in the land. When he had come near to enter into Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, "See now, I know that you are a beautiful woman to look at. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' They will kill me, but they will save you alive. Please say that you are my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that my soul may live because of you." When Abram had come into Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. Pharaoh's princes saw her and praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. He dealt well with Abram for her sake. He had sheep, cattle, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys and camels. Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues, because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her to be my wife? Now therefore, behold, your wife. Take her, and go your way." Pharaoh commanded men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Abram went up out of Egypt, he, his wife, all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. He went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. There Abram called on Yahweh's name. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks, herds, and tents. The land was not able to bear them, that they might live together, for their possessions were so great that they couldn't live together. There was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanite and the Perizzite lived in the land at that time. Abram said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are relatives. Isn't the whole land before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left hand, then I will go to the right. If you go to the right hand, then I will go to the left." Lot lifted up his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh. like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar. So Lot chose the plain of the Jordan for himself. Lot traveled east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the plain and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinners against Yahweh. Yahweh said to Abram, after Lot was separated from him, "Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward, and westward, for all the land which you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can count the dust of the earth, then your offspring may also be counted. Arise, walk through the land in its length and in its breadth, for I will give it to you." Abram moved his tent and came and lived by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to Yahweh. In the days of Amraphel king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elisar, Kedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, they made war with Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinob king of Odma, Shemeba king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zor. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year Kedorlaomer came with the kings who were with him and struck the Rephaim, the Zuzim, and the Emim, and the Horites in their hill country. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat. The same is Kadesh, and struck all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, who lived in Hazazon Tamar. The king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Odma, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela went out, and they set the battle in array against them in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal king of Goyim, Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elisar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and some fell there. Those who remained fled to the hills. They took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food, and went their way. They took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who lived in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. One who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he lived by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his relative was taken captive, he led out his 318 trained men, born in his house, and pursued as far as Dan. He divided himself against them by night, he and his servants, and struck them, and pursued them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. He brought back all the goods, and also brought back his relative Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the other people. The king of Sodom went out to meet him, after his return from the slaughter of Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, at the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. Melchizedek king of Salem brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. He blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." Abram gave him 1/10 of all. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself." Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I have lifted up my hand to Yahweh, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread nor a sandal strap, nor anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. I will accept nothing except that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion." After these things the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, "Don't be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward." Abram said, "Lord Yahweh, what will you give me, since I go childless? And he who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus." Abram said, "Behold, to me you have given no offspring, and behold, one born in my house is my heir." Yahweh's word came to him, saying, "This man will not be your heir, but he who will come out of your own body will be your heir." He brought him outside and said, "Look now toward the sky, and count the stars, if you are able to count them." He said to him, "So will your offspring be." He believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness. He said to him, "I am Yahweh, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give you this land to inherit it." Abram said, "Lord Yahweh, how will I know that I will inherit it?" He said to him, "Bring me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." He brought him all these and divided them in the middle and laid each half opposite the other. But he didn't divide the birds. The birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. When the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Terror and great darkness fell on him. He said to Abram, "Know for sure that your offspring will live as foreigners, in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them. They will afflict them 400 years. I will also judge that nation, whom they will serve. Afterward they will come out with great wealth. But you will go to your fathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation they will come here again. For the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full." When the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. In that day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, "I have given this land to your offspring, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites." Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bore him no children. She had a servant, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Sarai said to Abram, "See now, Yahweh has restrained me from bearing. Please go in to my servant. It may be that I will obtain children by her." Abram listened to Sarai's voice. Sarai took Hagar her servant, the Egyptian, after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to Abram her husband to be his wife. He went into Hagar, and she conceived. When she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Sarai said to Abram, "This wrong is your fault. I gave my servant into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahweh judge between me and you." Abram said to Sarai, "Behold, your maid is in your hand. Do to her whatever is good in your eyes." Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her face. Yahweh's angel found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain, on the way to Shur. He said, "Hagar, Sarai's servant, where did you come from? Where are you going?" She said, "I am fleeing from the face of my mistress Sarai." Yahweh's angel said to her, "Return to your mistress, and submit yourself under her hands." Yahweh's angel said to her, "I will greatly multiply your offspring, that they will not be counted for multitude." Yahweh's angel said to her, "Behold, you are with child, and will bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh has heard your affliction. He will be like a wild donkey among men. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He will live opposite all of his brothers. She called the name of Yahweh who spoke to her, "You are a God who sees," for she said, "Have I even stayed alive after seeing him?" Therefore, the well was called Beer Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son. Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless. I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly." Abram fell on his face. God talked with him, saying, "As for me, behold, my covenant is with you. You will be the father of a multitude of nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, but your name will be Abraham, for I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you. Kings will come out of you. I will establish my covenant between me and your offspring after you throughout their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God to you and to your offspring after you. I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land where you are traveling, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. I will be their God." God said to Abraham, "As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you shall keep, between me and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. It will be a token of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old will be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generations. He who is born in the house or bought with money from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. He who is born in your house, and he who is bought with your money must be circumcised. My covenant will be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. The uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant." God said to Abraham, "As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but her name will be Sarah. I will bless her, and moreover I will give you a son by her. Yes, I will bless her, and she will be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her." Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, "Will a child be born to him, who is 100 years old? Will Sarah, who is 90 years old, give birth?" Abraham said to God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." God said, "No, but Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son. You shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, for his offspring after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this set time next year." When he finished talking with him, God went up from Abraham. Abraham took Ishmael his son, all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the same day, as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Ishmael his son was 30. 3 travelers appeared near Abraham's tent, as the heat of day settled over the hills of Mamre. Abraham ran to meet them, bowed low, and brought water and bread beneath the shade of a tree. One of them spoke as the voice of the Lord at the appointed time next year. Sarah your wife will bear a son. From inside the tent Sarah laughed quietly. She was old, and so was Abraham, but the Lord asked, why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? When the men rose to go toward Sodom, Abraham walked with them, and the Lord told him of the city's wickedness. Abraham pleaded for mercy, first for 50 righteous, then 45, then 30, 20, 10, and the Lord promised he would spare the city, if even 10 were found. 2 angels entered Sodom at evening. Lot welcomed them into his house. But the men of the city surrounded it in violence. The angels pulled Lot inside, struck the mob with blindness, and told Lot to flee with his family. At dawn they were urged out of the city. Fire and sulfur rained from heaven, and Sodom and Gomorrah were gone. Lot's wife looked back and became a pillar of salt. Lot's daughters later bore sons by him, Moab and Ben-Ammi, the beginnings of 2 nations. Abraham traveled south to Gerar. There he again said Sarah was his sister, and King Abimelech took her. But God came to the king in a dream and warned him. Abimelech returned Sarah untouched and gave Abraham gifts. And Abraham prayed, so that the households of Gerar were healed. The Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and in her old age she bore a son. Abraham named him Isaac, meaning laughter. On the 8th day Isaac was circumcised. And Abraham rejoiced that God had kept his word. But jealousy grew between Sarah and Hagar. When Ishmael mocked Isaac, Sarah demanded that Hagar and her son be sent away. God told Abraham not to fear. Ishmael would also become a great nation. Hagar wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba until the water was gone. But an angel called to her, God has heard the boy crying. A well appeared, and Ishmael lived in the desert, skilled with a bow. Later, Abimelech came to make a covenant of peace with Abraham at Beersheba. They swore before God, and the well there became a sign of their agreement. Some time afterward, God tested Abraham. He called, Abraham. And he answered, Here I am. God said, Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Early the next morning Abraham saddled his donkey, took Isaac and 2 servants, and set out. On the 3rd day he saw the mountain. He told the servants, Stay here, we will worship and return. Isaac carried the wood while his father held the knife and fire. The boy asked, Father, where is the lamb? Abraham said, God himself will provide. On the mountain he built an altar, laid the wood, and bound Isaac upon it. He raised the knife, but the angel of the Lord called from heaven, Abraham, do not lay your hand on the boy. Now, I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son. Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. He offered the ram instead and named the place, Yahweh Yireh, the Lord will provide. The angel of the Lord spoke again. Because you have done this and have not withheld your son, I will surely bless you. Your descendants will be as the stars of heaven and the sand on the seashore. And through your seed all nations will be blessed. Abraham returned to Beersheba. News came later that his brother Nahor had children. Among them Bethuel, the father of Rebekah. Sarah lived 127 years, and died at Kiriath Arba Hebron. Abraham mourned for her and bought the cave of Machpelah from Ephron the Hittite as a burial place, the first piece of the promised land he owned. In old age, Abraham sent his servant back to his homeland. to find a wife for Isaac. The servant prayed by a well and met Rebekah, who offered water to him, and to his camels. She followed him back, and Isaac took her as his wife. Abraham lived to see his son settled. After many years, he died full of days and was buried beside Sarah. Sarah was 127 years old when she died in Hebron. Abraham mourned deeply for her. He spoke with the Hittites and bought the cave of Machpelah from Ephron at full price, insisting that it should be his possession forever. There he buried Sarah, his beloved wife. As Abraham grew old, he called his chief servant, and made him swear to find a wife for Isaac, not from the Canaanites, but from his own kin. The servant traveled to Nahor's city and prayed by a well, asking that the woman who offered water both to him and to his camels would be the one chosen by God. Before he finished speaking, Rebekah came out with her jar. She was kind, beautiful, and of Abraham's family. The servant gave her gifts and told her of his mission. Her family agreed to the marriage, saying, "This thing is from the Lord." Rebekah returned with him, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. He loved her, and was comforted after his mother's death. Abraham lived many more years and took another wife, Keturah, who bore him several sons. But Isaac remained the son of promise. When Abraham died, he was buried beside Sarah by Isaac and Ishmael. In time, Isaac and Rebekah had twin sons. Before they were born, the Lord said, "Two nations are in your womb. The older shall serve the younger." Esau came out first, red and hairy. Jacob followed, grasping his brother's heel. Esau grew into a skilled hunter, but Jacob was quiet and stayed among the tents. One day, when Esau came in from the field, exhausted, he sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentil stew. A famine came, and Isaac went to Gerar. God told him not to go to Egypt, but to stay where he would bless him. Isaac sowed in that land and reaped 100-fold. The Philistines envied him, and stopped up the wells his father had dug. Isaac moved on and dug new wells until the Lord gave him peace. God appeared to him and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you." When Isaac grew old and blind, he called for Esau to bless him. But Rebekah heard it, and urged Jacob to disguise himself. Jacob brought his father food, and Isaac, feeling the goat skins on Jacob's arms, blessed him instead. When Esau came, he cried out in anguish, realizing his blessing was gone. Isaac trembled and said, "I have blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." Esau vowed to kill Jacob, and Rebekah sent her younger son away to her brother Laban in Haran. On his journey, Jacob rested with a stone for a pillow. In a dream, he saw a stairway reaching to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. The Lord stood above it and said, "I am Yahweh, the God of Abraham and Isaac. I will give this land to you and your descendants." When Jacob awoke, he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place," and called it Bethel, house of God. Jacob arrived in the east and met shepherds by a well. Rachel, Laban's daughter, came with her father's sheep. And Jacob rolled the stone from the well to water them. Laban welcomed him, and Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, whom he loved. But on the wedding night, Laban deceived him and gave him Leah instead. Jacob worked another 7 years for Rachel. The sisters both bore him children, Leah first, then their handmaids, and finally Rachel with Joseph, the child of Jacob's deep affection. As Jacob's household grew, envy and rivalry filled the tents. Leah's sons were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Bilhah bore Dan and Naphtali. Zilpah bore Gad and Asher. And Rachel, after years of longing, gave birth to Joseph, saying, God has taken away my reproach. Jacob prospered in Laban's house. He tended flocks with skill and found favor, yet Laban often changed his wages. Through divine wisdom, Jacob's herds multiplied greatly, while Laban's diminished. God appeared to Jacob and said, Return to the land of your fathers, and I will be with you. As Jacob's flocks increased and Laban's sons grew resentful, Jacob saw that Laban's attitude had changed. Then the Lord spoke to him, saying, Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. Jacob called Rachel and Leah into the field and told them how their father had deceived him. Yet God had prospered him in every way. They answered, Do whatever God has said to you. Quietly, Jacob gathered his family and possessions and set out for Canaan, while Laban was away shearing his sheep. But Rachel, without telling her husband, took her father's household idols. When Laban heard that Jacob had fled, he pursued him for 7 days and overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. God came to Laban in a dream and said, Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, good or bad. When they met, Laban accused Jacob of stealing his gods. Jacob swore that whoever had them would die, not knowing that Rachel had hidden them in the camel's saddle. She sat upon it and claimed she could not rise because of her condition. So Laban searched and found nothing. Jacob, angry, reproached Laban for his years of deceit. Laban and Jacob finally made a covenant. Raising a heap of stones as witness between them, they swore by the God of Abraham and Nahor, and Laban kissed his daughters and returned home. Jacob went on his way, and angels of God met him. He said, This is God's camp, and called the place Mahanaim. Fearing his brother Esau, he sent messengers ahead to Seir with gifts, calling himself your servant, Jacob, and Esau my lord. The messengers returned saying, Esau is coming to meet you, with 400 men. Jacob was greatly afraid. He divided his company into 2 groups, saying, If Esau attacks one, the other may escape. That night he prayed, O God of my father, Abraham and Isaac, you who said to me, Return, and I will do you good. I am not worthy of all the kindness you have shown me. Deliver me from Esau's hand. Then he sent ahead droves of livestock as gifts, one group after another, hoping to appease his brother's heart. Left alone at the ford of the Jabbok, Jacob wrestled through the night with a man. When the man saw that he did not prevail, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, dislocating it. He said, Let me go, for the day breaks. Jacob answered, I will not let you go unless you bless me. The man said, Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. At sunrise Jacob crossed over, limping. Then he lifted his eyes and saw Esau coming with his men. Jacob bowed 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and wept. They were reconciled. Esau offered to travel with him, but Jacob declined gently and journeyed at his own pace. He came safely to the city of Shechem and built an altar there, calling it El Eloi Israel, God, the God of Israel. In that land, Dinah, Leah's daughter, went out to visit the women of the region. Shechem, the prince of the land, seized her and lay with her. He spoke tenderly and asked his father Hamor to arrange marriage. Jacob's sons were filled with fury. Deceitfully, they agreed on one condition: that all the men of the city be circumcised. On the third day, when the men were in pain, Simeon and Levi entered the city and killed them all. They took Dinah from Shechem's house and plundered the city. Jacob rebuked his sons, fearing the people of the land would seek revenge. God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there. Build an altar to me." Jacob told his household, "Put away your foreign gods, purify yourselves." They gave him all their idols and earrings. And Jacob buried them under the oak near Shechem. As they traveled, the terror of God fell on the surrounding cities, and none pursued them. Jacob built an altar at Bethel and called it El Bethel, for there God had revealed himself to him. God appeared again to Jacob and said, "Your name is Jacob. But you shall not be called Jacob any longer, Israel shall be your name. I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall spring from your body. The land I gave to Abraham and Isaac I give to you and your descendants." As they journeyed from Bethel, Rachel went into hard labor and gave birth to a son. Her soul was departing, for she was dying. And she named him Benoni, son of my sorrow, but Jacob called him Benjamin. Rachel was buried on the way to Ephrat, which is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a pillar on her grave, and it stands as her monument. Israel continued his journey and spread his tents beyond the Tower of Eder. Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. Jacob had 12 sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. These were the sons born to him in Paddan Aram. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre. Isaac lived 180 years. Then died and was gathered to his people, old and full of days. Esau and Jacob, now reconciled, buried their father together. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his sons, because he was the child of his old age and of Rachel. He made him a coat of many colors. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him most, they hated him. Joseph told them dreams he had that sheaves in the field bowed down to his sheaf, and that the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed before him. His brothers' envy grew, and even his father rebuked him, yet kept the matter in mind. One day Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers in Shechem. They saw him coming and said, "Here comes this dreamer." They conspired to kill him, but Reuben urged them not to shed blood. They threw him into a dry pit. When a caravan of Ishmaelite traders passed by, Judah said, "What profit is there if we kill him? Let us sell him." They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver, and he was taken to Egypt. They dipped his coat in goat's blood and brought it to their father, who wept and said, "My son has been torn by a wild beast." In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. The Lord was with him, and everything he touched prospered. Potiphar trusted him completely. But Potiphar's wife cast her eyes on him and tried to lure him. Joseph refused, saying, "How could I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" One day, she caught his garment and accused him falsely. Joseph was cast into prison, but the Lord was with him there too. And soon he was placed in charge of all the prisoners. Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker were imprisoned, and each had a troubling dream. Joseph interpreted them by God's wisdom. The cupbearer would be restored, the baker would be hanged. It happened as he said. Yet the cupbearer forgot Joseph. 2 years later Pharaoh dreamed of 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows, of full ears of grain, and thin ears scorched by the east wind. None could interpret it. Then the cupbearer remembered Joseph. He was brought from prison, shaved, and stood before Pharaoh. Joseph said, "It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace." He told Pharaoh that 7 years of great plenty would be followed by 7 years of famine, and advised storing grain during the good years. Pharaoh said, "Can we find such a man in whom is the Spirit of God?" He made Joseph ruler over all Egypt, second only to himself. Joseph was 30 years old. During the years of plenty, Joseph gathered food in every city. When famine came upon all lands, Egypt had bread. People from every nation came to Joseph to buy grain, including his brothers from Canaan. When they bowed before him, they did not recognize him, but he knew them. He spoke harshly and tested them, accusing them of being spies. They protested their innocence, telling of their youngest brother at home, and one who was lost. Joseph held Simeon as a pledge and sent the rest home with grain, secretly returning their silver. When they told their father, Jacob refused to send Benjamin. But as the famine worsened, he said, "If it must be so, take gifts and the boy, and may God Almighty grant you mercy." When they returned, Joseph saw Benjamin and turned aside to weep. He ordered a feast for them and sent them away with grain, again, placing his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. After they left, he sent his steward after them. The cup was found with Benjamin, and they were brought back trembling. Judah fell before Joseph and said, "God has found out our iniquity. Let me stay as your slave in place of the boy." Joseph could no longer restrain himself. He sent everyone out and wept aloud. He said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" They stood speechless. He drew near and said, "Do not be grieved or angry with yourselves for selling me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. There are yet 5 years of famine, and God has made me a father to Pharaoh and ruler over all Egypt. Go, bring my father quickly." Then he embraced Benjamin and kissed his brothers. And they talked together in peace. Pharaoh heard of it, and was pleased. He offered them wagons and provisions to bring Jacob's whole household to Egypt. When Jacob saw the wagons, his spirit revived. And he said, "Joseph my son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Jacob set out with all that he had, and when he came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. God spoke to him in visions of the night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." He answered, "Here I am." Then God said, "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. I will go down with you, and I will surely bring you up again." Jacob arose, and his sons carried him, their wives, and their little ones in the wagons Pharaoh had sent. They took their livestock and all their goods, and came into Egypt. Jacob, and all his descendants. Joseph went out in his chariot to meet his father. When he appeared before him, he fell on his neck and wept a long time. Jacob said, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, and know that you are still alive." Joseph presented 5 of his brothers to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked about their occupation. And they answered, "Your servants are shepherds, as our fathers were." Pharaoh gave them the best of the land, in the region of Goshen. Joseph provided food for his father and all his family, according to their needs. The famine was severe in Egypt and Canaan. Joseph gathered all the money in exchange for grain. Then all the livestock, and finally the land itself. Pharaoh became owner of all Egypt, but Joseph gave the people seed and said, "At harvest, you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own." The people said, "You have saved our lives." Israel lived in the land of Goshen and grew exceedingly in number. Jacob lived 17 years in Egypt. When his time drew near, he called Joseph and said, "Do not bury me in Egypt, but carry me to the burial place of my fathers." Joseph swore to do so. Afterward, when Joseph was told, "Your father is sick," he took his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Jacob strengthened himself and said, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz and blessed me, saying, 'I will make you fruitful and give this land to your descendants.'" Jacob said to Joseph, "Your 2 sons, who were born to you in Egypt, shall be mine, as Reuben and Simeon are mine." Then he stretched out his right hand upon Ephraim, the younger, and his left upon Manasseh. Joseph tried to move his father's hands, but Jacob said, "I know, my son. He also shall become great, but his younger brother shall be greater." He blessed them, saying, "God make you as Ephraim, and Manasseh." Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen in the last days." He spoke to each one with prophetic words: to Reuben, unstable as water; to Simeon and Levi, whose anger had been fierce; to Judah, the lion's whelp from whom the scepter would not depart; to Zebulun, Issachar, Dan, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Joseph, and Benjamin. Each was blessed according to his own tribe. When he finished commanding them, Jacob drew his feet up into the bed, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. He commanded the physicians to embalm his father, and 40 days were fulfilled for him. When the mourning in Egypt ended, Joseph asked Pharaoh's permission to bury his father in the cave of Machpelah. Pharaoh agreed, and a great procession went up from Egypt. Chariots, horsemen, elders, and all of Joseph's household. They buried Jacob in the field that Abraham had purchased, then returned to Egypt. After their father's death, Joseph's brothers feared him and said, "Perhaps Joseph will repay us for all the evil we did to him." They sent a message saying, "Before he died, your father commanded us to say, 'Please forgive the sin of your brothers.'" Joseph wept when he heard it and said, "Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring about the saving of many lives. So do not fear, I will provide for you and your little ones." Joseph lived 110 years. He saw his children's children to the 3rd generation. When his death drew near, he said, "God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Carry up my bones from here." Joseph died, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt.